Yeah, because I was talking to Yvette actually about Bahrain, and that's kind of going the other way now. There we go, we are live, just so you... welcome transition people, I mean Periscope people. You've tuned into Transition, and you're not going to get to see me, you can see these guys today, there you go. So, there we go. Should have done the hat. My hat's phenomenal, mate, I love my hat. Keeps my head warm. Oh, it's also a really good phone stand, which is kind of not working today. Okay, well, we'll go back to the on-air thing. There we go. That's kind of good, doing it. Perfect. Oh, sunk.
Do you? I was just saying something. Do you have any restriction on the number of records you do?
No.
Do you have to? No. I didn't know if there was any licensing issues.
No, I thought that was joined, but apparently there isn't. We can. It's up to us really. There will be more when we go to FM, because you have to apply all the Ofcom licenses in, which is slightly difficult.
For large internet, you don't need to, because that community radio protection or something, so there's no protection. So if you use lots of records and broadcasters, you have to pay.
Yeah.
Yes, you use them on YouTube.
Yeah, we've got a license.
Right, okay.
Welcome back. You're listening to Transition. I am David Simpson. This is Secular Sounds Community Radio for Milton Keynes, and for the next half an hour, just checking. Yep, we are also live on Periscope, and we're catching up with Jordan and his travels around the globe, which is true actually. So let's get to the. Have you found yourself in any tricky situation? Because I know there's people out there absolutely going, you know, it can't. We want to know the tricky bits, the scary bits. Have there been any?
Yeah, I guess a couple. Largely, no. Largely, I've been okay in most places. One place where I felt a little bit uncomfortable was in India. Me and my friend basically made friends with these couple of Indian guys that at first we thought were just friendly and were just being nice, but then it was only at one point that we realised, and we'd heard from lots of other people about possible scams. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of scams that happen there, especially around the Golden Triangle in Jaipur, Agra and Delhi, that eventually they'll be your friends for a couple of days, take you everywhere, and then eventually they'll ask you to transport a package, or send a package with your passport number. And they can be really convincing, but unless you're switched on to that, then you can get yourself caught in a horrible situation.
That's the thing with comment, isn't it? I mean, people look at comment and go, really? How are you so daft to send that? But they are good at what they do.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's going to lull you in and spend a few days becoming your friend to get you to send something home for them,
yeah, and this is exactly
good at it.
It's exactly what happened. For 2 or 3 days, we were they took us to a couple of parties. We were just chatting, hanging out with them. They seemed like really good blokes. And then at the end of it, we went to a tea shop, just having a cup of tea, and they tried to get us to did all the salesman talk, like trying to get us to say yes to all of this and do all this. And then eventually it was, okay, we'll go to Delhi tonight, and we'll give you a package. You'll make $10,000 in a day. And that was when we said, okay, we'll think about it. Go drop us off about at our hotel, and then we'll let you know.
Yeah. and of course, was it that easy to get out of the situation?
It was for us. I know in the past people have had that conversation like outside of the city. They'll take you to a remote place and then say that sort of thing.
You're kind of stuck at that point.
So yeah, I know, and that was a lesson to not.
So I should just turn Dad's headphones off and everything now while you're talking about the dodgy mention. Like everything was fine, of course it was. It was all wine, women, and song.
It is the first time I've heard this story.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that's the one time that really jumps to my mind. Other than that, then it's been absolutely fine. And you know, it's just about having a little bit of common sense, and just don't agree to give someone your passport number or take a package for them.
I think that you know that applies to whether you're going on holiday as well, doesn't it? It's just common sense. If the area looks dodgy, it probably is.
Yeah. I think there's that old adage: if it's too good to be true, then
very
it's too
much
good to be true. And you know, it is common sense. But we said earlier, you know, travel broadens the mind. You put yourself in those situations. To coin a phrase that we all have to do now in the business world, you make your risk assessment.
Yeah.
And you know, it drives me mad, the fact that we've reference to risk assessments, but we've always had to do it. You have to make your mind up about, is this the right thing to do? Does it feel comfortable? If it doesn't, get out of there.
You do a risk assessment when you cross the road, don't you?
Yeah.
You look both ways and you go, oh right, okay, fine, I'll take the risk, I'll cross the road. Speaking of which, have you been to India? I say this because a friend of mine's just come back from India and he said, traffic. Really? He got a rental car and he was intending to drive himself around, and I think he made it about a mile before he just parked the car, rang the rental company and said, you're going to have to come and get this because I can't drive here. Is it as bonkers as it sounds?
Yeah, in the cities I wouldn't try and drive a car. Like, I was there for 2 months and no way would I drive a car there. I drove a scooter for a little bit in the south where the roads aren't as busy.
Yeah.
But the roads is just free for all. It's carnage. It's no real system. It's, if you're the bigger car, the smaller car gets out of the way.
Does it work though, or are there hundreds of thousands? I've watched YouTube videos of traffic in India, and strangely, it looks like it kind of works because everybody, like you say, everybody who's driving in this completely chaotic system has the same idea of how they're doing it. So in theory, it could work.
I've been there, David. I've lived in India probably 15 years ago, and it is frightening. And yes, you see accidents, but by and large, nobody's going quick enough for it to be made.
I suppose that makes a difference as well.
That was Delhi, but I know they've done experiments in Europe, haven't they? Certainly in Holland, and I think they've started doing them in the UK, where they're taking all the street signage away, taking away the rules, and they're just leaving the drivers to trust on their common sense and making decisions we talked about, and it's actually making the traffic flow
better,
because people have to be aware of what's going on around them.
They also did a study a while ago about tying into a radio station about does music influence how you drive, and they deliberately played certain tracks at certain times and monitored the track from like the M25 and shock horror, yeah, it does make a huge difference. Really? I mean, if you listen to David Tilley on Business Brunch, 25 mile an hour tops, guarantee it. Sorry, Dave. I'm going to pay for that next week. I really am. Dave's show replays directly before this one, so I really am going to pay for that. Whoops, never mind. They're back here. So, how do you decide which way next? Is it a case of just looking at a map, stick a pin in it, and go, do you know what, that looks good?
For this actually, it was my friends asked me. They wanted to come out and see me somewhere because I hadn't seen them in a year, and they asked me where should we come for New Year's. So I said to them, okay, why don't we meet in Bali, without letting them know that I was coming back for Christmas.
So you got friends travelling all around the world and you're here.
Yeah, so I think they've forgiven me now, but I said that to them, they all booked it, and then decided to come home for Christmas, so I'm flying back out with them to Bali. So that was the next stop for me.
I suppose at least they've got somebody's experience to
yeah, I mean they've done it.
Next.
They've done it a little bit themselves, but yeah, it'll be great. It'll be out there for a couple of weeks with all mates from home.
It sounds brilliant, and Bali's just kind of. Have you been to Bali before?
Yeah.
Is it this kind of tropical? Bali's one of those places in the world, isn't it, that conjures up this sort of image and smell and sense and everything just kind of floods you. And is it exactly like that? Is it that good?
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a tropical island, but then it's got the other side of it as well. It's set up with nice hotels and good nightlife as well. So you can have both sides of it really. I think in Bali.
I'm going to very briefly touch on this because I think it's something that people are worried about specifically at the moment. But I think worried is the right word, and I've got an opinion on that. I might share later, or I might just say. Have you found any grief from religion? Because my guessing is probably no.
I wouldn't say grief. No, I haven't. I mean, how do you mean? Have you felt?
Have you felt intimidated, or like people are against you for any particular belief that you may have, or trying to force beliefs on you, or you're not welcome because? No,
I think the people I've met that have been really religious, I've tried to educate, and they say a lot about the religion and why it's a good religion, why you should follow it. I've never really felt forced to pretend that I was a religion in the country.
I'm glad that's the response. I kind of thought it would be, but when you ask these questions, you think, oh God, this could go anywhere now, and I could really regret it. But I think that's true, isn't it? The majority of, I suppose, would you agree, Phil? The majority of the world are actually sort of decent, nice people who just want to get on with each other.
Without a doubt, it's that 0.1% on the periphery. Was it the old saying? I don't want to. People have very deep held beliefs, but was it again go back to an old adage? the empty vessels make the most noise.
Yeah.
You know, the vast majority of people, doesn't matter what race or religion, we're here to live together, to have a good life, to support our family and friends, and improve ourselves. And
Yeah.
I think that's just human nature. There will always be a few people on the edge of society who, for whatever reason, will create problems.
I mean, good and bad there, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? You do get the overzealous charity collectors, I suppose, you know, with their bucket and they're really pinning you against the wall. But I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that those extremes exist on both ends of the spectrum.
I was going to announce my appeal later on, Dave. Actually,
Well, you can do that, mate. It's fine. You know,
put my fire out.
Yeah. Well, you got to catch up with him, haven't you? You got to do something. But I suppose, where do you stay? Do you stay in known hotels? Do you stay in hostels?
I mean, it depends on the place. Like obviously different countries cost different amounts for hostels and hotels. So when I have a bit of money spare, if I'm in Asia or a particularly cheaper country, I don't know, like Indonesia, Cambodia, then you can stay in a hotel. You can stay in your own room because it's just as cheap as staying in a hostel. If you're going to stay somewhere, like when I flew back via Norway. That was €25 a night for a bed in a dorm.
Yeah.
So it's, you have to stay in a hostel. You pay 3 times that much for a hotel room.
I mean, it's impressive. Let's just say that it's impressive, the fact that you had a couple of grand in your pocket and you made that last 8 months. Because that's going. I mean, I'll be honest. I like to spend, and I could do that in 8 hours.
I think if you would go onto Jordan's blog, The Life of Jord, he's done examples there of the costings for some of them, certainly a couple of months ago in the Far East. And Jordan was spending, you know, I know he had a target, I think, Jordan, you have $10 a day, which is $10 which is £6 a day, and he wasn't spending it. That was bed, breakfast, travel, food, and beer at night, and he wasn't spending £6 a day.
Yeah, I think when I figured out, on average, up to Australia, it was $20 a day overall across like the expensive countries and the cheaper places, where you make it balance out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was.
Well, by the way, can we just plug the Facebook page again and the YouTube channel, because I want to make sure you get as many followers as you can, because it is an interesting blog.
Yeah, sure. So it's just The Life of Jord. Nice and simple. My name's Jordan Simons, and it's showing people how to travel the world continuously, or learning how to travel the world continuously, and just to see me going through countries and see how I do it.
I think, and there were some really interesting articles. I love the bit about, you know, how to travel to Australia and how to get a job. And travel, I suppose, is the other thing, isn't it? Hitchhiking, or I suppose does it all come back down to cost? If I've got the money, I'll have a taxi. If I haven't got the money, well, I'm going to have to hitchhike.
Well, I've read this before, and there's 3 pillars when you want to travel. It's accommodation, food, and transport. And other than that, you don't really need to pay for anything. So if you can bring one of them down, then you save money on that. You can spend more on the other. So I think the best way to save money is to travel slower, and then you're saving money on transportation because you don't have to pay to get a bus or a plane or a taxi every day if you spend a couple of weeks. So that removes that. If you find cheaper places to eat, that brings that down. If you negotiate with a hotel or hostel owner, then that brings that down. So you can find ways to save.
And you found negotiation work, because negotiation is alien to Brits.
Yeah.
We really don't understand it at all, do we?
Yeah, it's a learning curve, but I think everywhere in Asia you can barter, for sure.
The thing is, I think if people expect you to barter, then they kind of look at you a bit strange when you don't. It's like, well, you mean you're paying that? Okay, fine, fair enough. I mean, I have the one thing we haven't touched on, Phil. Sorry, at the risk of exposing your age in this, should we say? How old are you, Jordan?
25.
25.
I know.
Yeah, Phil now has a complete blank spot. Roughly 25 years, 9 months ago, he was wanting that check-in on Facebook again. It wasn't available. There's a level of maturity from you for a 25-year-old that I think only travel can give you, and it's the life experiences that you're picking up that sound absolutely amazing. So is it always going to be that way? Any desire to go sort of, I don't know, the other direction, north and because people who travel tend to do that sort of the Asias into Australia and that sort of ilk. Any plans to go sort of? Well, you were in Oslo.
Yeah.
So I suppose there is plans to go north to some degree. Russia takes you fancy at all?
I actually, as and when it happens, I don't know, but I do have a plan to go to every country in the world eventually. I don't know when that'll be, but I do want to go everywhere.
This is where I step in and say risk assessments are important, and Syria and Afghanistan not currently on the list, hopefully.
Okay, I'll agree there.
So when you see the check-in from Facebook saying Camp David in, it's like, no, what's he doing there? Yeah, there are a couple of places that are sort of no-go areas, aren't there, really?
Yeah, for sure. But there are people that have done it, and there's people that are popping up recently that are still trying to do it as well. So it is possible. It's just about, as you say, managing the risk and not going to Syria right now, or not going to Iraq in the height of...
Or not going to the bits where people are throwing bombs at anyway. Some of these countries, you say there's this war in so-and-so country, and when you actually dig deep and look at it, it's in like a 100 square mile of a 10,000 mile country, and the rest of it's absolutely fine. Not advising you anyway to go anywhere near anywhere dangerous, because he will be knocking on my door going, why did you tell him that? Russia kind of is a changing world, isn't it? Anything interesting stateside for you? I know you want to see every country.
Yeah.
But where is that must go to destination?
So right now, I guess after China, then I really want to go to South Africa. And I'm not exactly sure why. I've seen loads of just videos and pictures of it, and it looks beautiful, and it looks like, and then I can start touching on Africa. I don't really feel like I've been many places in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think South Africa after that, I'd love to.
But that's a whole year's travel on its own, isn't it, really? Just travelling across Africa. A massive place. How do you feel about South Africa then, Phil? Is that?
That's one place I could meet Jordan. I'd be happy with that one.
Would any World Cup destinations, considering there's a definite family football tie here, just out of interest?
Yeah, actually, no, you just reminded me. I signed up to be a volunteer at the Olympics last year, and I've been, because you can do the same thing you did for the Olympic Games here, where you get to be a games maker and you go and work at the Olympics. And so I signed up for that, and I've had that accepted, and I want to do it. It's just a case of money, I think, because Brazil will be crazy expensive during the 3 months for the Olympics.
But then I suppose if you're in that, volunteer portal, maybe there's people within, excuse me, maybe there's people within that world that might help.
Yeah, hopefully. So if there's anyone,
anybody listening in Brazil that wants, I tell you what, actually, Jordan, can I ask a big favour?
Sure.
When are you going back? You're going back January?
Yeah, back to Bali.
Periodically, and I don't care how often, drop me an email just with a little bit of George's diary, a couple of minutes. There's no point sending me a video. No one's going to see it. And I'll make time and I'll get it played so that the people listening get to follow you around the world as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, just a voice snippet.
Just a little voice snippet where you are, and that will be great. And I'll play it for you because I think it's brilliant. I think what you're doing is absolutely admirable.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Good. So back off to Bali, and then where next? Australia.
Probably, yeah.
Via wherever takes your fancy.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty liquid at the moment, but I'm going to be in Bali for a couple months, I think, in Indonesia until February.
How have you found the social side? I know you said you met this guy in China, but how have you found that? There's been you and your mate. You've been travelling together for 18 months. Mm-hmm. That on its own is something impressive because you spend 6 weeks with somebody in the same environment and people start bickering. So 18 months is good. It sounds like you've met an awful lot of people on the travels and a lot of friends along the way. Would that be fair to say? Yeah,
definitely. I've been on my own now for 6 months. He stayed in Australia, so for that period I've just been going around on my own. And you meet someone different every day. So even if you're on your own, if you're staying in hostels or you go to a bar, then people are really open just to say, "Oh, I'm going to go to this tourist attraction tomorrow. Do you want to come with me?" Yeah, sure, why not? And then you make friends for a couple of days, and things seem to happen quite a lot that way. So you're never really completely on your own, even when you're on your own.
That's brave, isn't it? I mean,
I've got to say, obviously, hats off to Jord, and my daughter has actually done it as well in the past, isn't she? But not anyway, sort of for as long as Jordan's done. But I actually went for a phase probably about 15-20 years ago, and I did it a couple of times, and I actually found, and not travelling, only going away for a couple of weeks at a time, travelling on your own, you meet far more people than you do travelling in a pair or in a group, because people are intrigued about your story. They want to know who you are if they see you on your own. But when you're older, and I was older when I travelled, but I think like Jord, there's lots of intrepid young people out there now.
Yeah, we're all doing the same thing.
And they all do the same. They all want to learn, and they've become, in a way, and I've done this, you know, Jordan probably correct me, but they become a group of individuals, and it's like a tribe. So when they're travelling, they become friends. They've got that in common.
If you travel enough, there must be a point where you come across the same people again, or you bump into somebody in, I don't know, you know, South Africa who you last saw in the Philippines, and you've both still been travelling for that. Have you come across any of that yet, or is that still to come?
No, yeah, it's true. I'm meeting a couple of my friends that I made in a hostel in Australia in Bali, so they're going to be there for New Year's. I'm just meeting back up with them, and that's not really, we didn't plan that together.
You just happen to both be, again, this comes back to checking in on social media, doesn't it? Saying, I'm here, and then somebody else from your friends list says, no, you can't be, because I'm here as well, you know, and you get to get, I think social media across the whole has got to make that slightly more comfort in the fact that you can look to see who your friends are, you can do the Foursquare thing and the Facebook thing and the Twitter thing and the hundreds of other platforms that are springing up all over the place.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially with Facebook, where you have friends that you made a few years ago and they'll just pop up that they're in a place. If you had to do that years ago, I don't know, you'd be writing to them.
You could walk straight past people in the street, and if you didn't know they were going to be there, you'd never know them were there. Phil, anything you want to add before we run out of time? Because I've got a fairly we will do today, because it's really interesting and there's so much more I want to ask.
No, not really, other than you referred to it before about Young Enterprise. I know
plug.
I was in a couple of weeks ago, and thoroughly enjoyed the programme. I've already, the fellow volunteer Stephen, we've already sort of hooked up on a couple of ideas on that as well. So I know a lot of the listeners are very much committed to volunteering and helping developing teenagers and people as they go through the transition. So like-minded to myself, just personally, from me, Phil Simons, and also from Young Enterprise, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and also a fantastic 2016 to all of you.
Yeah, and do lots of volunteering and send us your details, because you need a lot of people for January, don't you?
Well, we do, and I actually did, touching it very briefly, I actually did some work in the local sort of Young Offenders Institute, Oak Hill,
last
Thursday, and I've got to say, every single one of the volunteers involved in that came out of the room or out of the unit tired, but actually really exalted. I think it's probably they were punching the air with the effort that went in, but also the feeling that it gave them for the good work they did, and I really appreciate those people for taking the time out as well. Thanks very much.
Excellent. Jordan, you touched on it actually. Volunteering, is that a good way to to make friends, to get those connections, to find out what you need? Because you said you volunteered at the Olympics. Have you done? I get the feeling you volunteered in some other places as you've gone around.
Yeah, okay. When I started, I just volunteered at a music festival, and I made some really good friends that way. That was is maybe a few people listening have been. It's called Outlook in Croatia, and yeah, I made friends that way. I've done some volunteering just through someone I met. I volunteered at an orphanage in the Philippines, and that was like something that you'd never imagine doing until you're in a place. And that's yeah, and I made a friend for life there as well.
That's how did you find that? That's got to be a real sort of heart wrencher, that one. Yeah,
they were really good kids, and the great thing about there is that they all spoke perfect English. Pretty much the first.
That's make it easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, they all have some pretty bad backstories, but all of them were really happy there, and all of them were really, really kind. So it was more of an uplifting thing than heart wrenching.
I think that's great. So if you're kind of travelling and you're a bit of a loss one day for something to do, pick up, find a local volunteering thing, and there's always, I think, wherever you are, somebody that could do with a few hours of time, isn't there, that would really appreciate it, and you can make a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, so the job itself, for those listening, and we do strangely have a global audience, which is quite cool actually. I'm not saying it's huge, there's about 3 of them, but we can live with 3. 5 would be lovely, but we can live with 3. How do you plan on making your living now? I'm talking long term, because you're on about saying, this is your life goal now, this is what you're going to be doing for at least a period of time until somebody catches your eye, and then maybe that changes things. What is it you actually do? You do web development. You do videography, photography. Some of your photos are great, by the way. How else is someone, if somebody does pick this up globally and wants to recruit you and employ you, what skills are you out there for the people?
So yeah, I guess at the moment I'm doing the freelance web design and video editing for other people, and that's supplementing what I want to do with the travel blog, the videos, and all of the stuff that might in the future then create passive income, some money that will come in regardless of what I'm doing. The videos are there, the website's there, that's a resource for
Facebook has the YouTube monetization stuff, and that's quite good, isn't it, actually? If you get enough views, you can make a few quid out of that. It's quite tidy, wasn't it, the other day. While we're on the subject, actually, I'm just going to put a shout out. If you're a company within Milton Keynes who, I don't know, wants to put a sticker on Jordan's backpack or something and maybe help support him around the world, please do drop me a line. It's david@secularsounds.org. This is Secular Sounds. It's a community radio for Milton Keynes, and we're there to support the community. And that community doesn't have to just be here. I'd love it if we had a company that drop me a line and say, okay, we'll help him out. So that's david@secularsounds.org.
And also on top of that, I'll say if there's anyone listening that just wants some advice or anything about it, just drop me a message from the Facebook page and I'll try and reply and let anyone know.
I think that's cool. The bits you've got on there about actually, helping other people do this are truly impressive. Wow. There we go, Phil. Every time you come in here, mate, the hour goes really quick.
Thanks, Dave.
If your board meetings were... I don't know, we'll leave that there. That might cut out. I don't know what I was going to say anyway. Jordan, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to hearing your snippets. I will be avidly following the Facebook page because it is really, really impressive, and I don't doubt I'll be getting updates from somebody over there on a fairly regular basis as well. Best of luck, mate.
Great, thank you.
Enjoy Bali. And enjoy travelling. It just sounds like you are. Phil?
Just don't leave it for the 3 or 4 days in between and then get a bit twitchy.
With that in mind, I am David Simpson. As always, this has been Transition, and you're listening to Secular Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes. Join us again, same time next time, maybe next week. I'll let Dave on that one. Till then, take care.
You're not doing Christmas Eve, is it? It's Christmas Eve next week.
That's fun.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
You're a star, Jordan.
Cheers.